The sky tore, not with thunder, but with a sound like ancient paper ripping, revealing not stars, but the impossible silhouette of a city that wasn't here moments before. The mundane morning commute, the aroma of stale coffee and exhaust fumes, the muted cacophony of a million lives rushing forward, all of it shattered. Across the quintessential American cityscape, office workers paused mid-stride, their smartphones forgotten. Children on school buses pressed faces against glass, their innocent wonder quickly twisting into primal fear. Buildings warped, their steel skeletons groaning, momentarily dissolving into shimmering heat hazes before re-solidifying, subtly, terrifyingly wrong. Gravity itself seemed to cough, sending cars skittering sideways, brief weightlessness replaced by a jarring lurch. Panic, a wild, ravenous beast, erupted from every street corner, every skyscraper window, a primal scream echoing against the impossible. Kaleidoscopic wounds bleeding across the heavens. Marcus Mark Thorne, or Aegis as the old guard knew him, felt the shift in his bones. He stood on a rooftop overlooking the chaos, a sentinel against the encroaching madness, his 6'3" frame a stark silhouette against the fractured dawn. His tactical suit, scarred from countless skirmishes, was a second skin, its subtle energy conduits already humming, a faint blue glow tracing the lines of his forearms. A weathered face, etched with a decade of impossible burdens, betrayed no surprise, only a grim, familiar resignation. The scar bisecting his left eyebrow, a relic from a battle he never spoke of, seemed to deepen with the strain. His piercing blue eyes, usually haunted, now held a focused intensity, scanning the unfolding catastrophe with the precision of a predator. He was a man out of time, a living symbol of an older America, one that believed in tangible threats and clear victories. Now confronted by an enemy that wasn't just physical, but existential, an insidious unraveling of reality itself. Below, the impossible had taken root. A monstrous entity, a grotesque caricature of the Statue of Liberty, had materialized from one of the largest breaches, its copper skin flayed to reveal pulsating, sickly green sinews. Its torch, once a beacon, now blazed with an unnatural, consuming fire that pulsed with raw Nexus energy, sending ripples of distortion through the air. The crown, twisted and sharp, screeched with a sound that tore at the fabric of sanity, ripping apart asphalt and sending vehicles tumbling like child's toys. This was no ordinary invasion. It was an echo, a distorted memory of an American icon, weaponized by a force Aegis couldn't yet comprehend. He launched himself from the rooftop, a silent, kinetic projectile, the familiar hum in his palms growing into a roar as he plunged into the heart of the chaos. A lone shield against the coming storm. He absorbed the kinetic force of a collapsing billboard, redirecting it into a powerful concussive blast that momentarily staggered the monstrous entity. It shrieked, a sound that felt like sandpaper on the soul, and lashed out with a colossal hand, its fingers elongating, blurring the line between flesh and metal. Aegis darted, a blur of focused energy, the air around him crackling as he pulled more and more kinetic force into his body. This was different. This thing didn't just smash, it unmade. Where its grotesque hand passed, reality frayed, patches of the street fading to static, pedestrians briefly flickering out of existence before snapping back, screaming, disoriented. This wasn't just a physical threat, it was a systemic breakdown, a cancerous unraveling of everything he knew. He saw the fleeting visions of other realities bleeding through the entity's wake, a jungle swallowed by a cityscape, a medieval castle perched atop a gleaming chrome tower. He slammed into the entity's leg, releasing a concentrated burst of kinetic energy. The creature roared, its head snapping down, its torch hand sweeping towards him. Aegis rolled, narrowly avoiding the searing Nexus fire, and found himself at the base of the primary breach from which the entity had emerged. The air here was thick with ozone and a metallic tang, the shimmering tear in reality pulsing like a wounded god. His eyes, trained to spot anomalies, caught a glint of something amidst the dissipating energy, a strange crystalline shard pulsing with faint internal light. He snatched it, the cold, smooth surface vibrating in his palm. For a split second, the shard flared, projecting a vivid, terrifying vision directly into his mind. A world of pristine, towering chrome spires, where every citizen moved with synchronized, emotionless grace, their faces serene, their movements perfectly orchestrated. It was utopian in its order, terrifying in its absolute control, a chilling glimpse into a totalitarian freedom achieved through the eradication of individual will. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, but the message was clear. This chaos wasn't random. There was a larger, ideological struggle at play, a warped philosophy driving this destruction. The monstrous entity recovered, its form solidifying, its attacks growing more precise, more devastating. Its reality-warping abilities weren't just collateral damage, they were targeted, designed to sow confusion and despair. A nearby apartment building began to shimmer, its foundations dissolving. Panicked residents poured onto the streets below, directly into the path of the creature's next sweep. Aegis saw the impossible math. He couldn't protect both the building and the civilians already caught in the crossfire. His jaw tightened, a familiar, bitter taste in his mouth. He absorbed the kinetic energy from a crumbling bridge support, channeling it into a massive force field that enveloped the entire apartment block, stabilizing its reality, but simultaneously sealing off the streets below from escape. A brutal tactical decision. A city block sacrificed to contain the immediate, overwhelming threat. The screams of those trapped, those he couldn't save, echoed in his mind, mingling with the entity's guttural roars. This was the cost of freedom, a burden he knew intimately, a debt that would weigh heavily on his conscience long after the dust settled. Pushed to his absolute limits, his kinetic reserves dangerously low, Aegis saw a momentary flicker in the entity's chest, a point where the raw Nexus energy seemed to coalesce before dissipating. It was a weakness, a systemic flaw in its chaotic form. He launched himself forward, a desperate last-ditch effort, pouring every last ounce of absorbed energy into a single focused punch. The force field around his fist glowed incandescently, slamming into the entity's chest with the force of a small meteorite. The creature shrieked, a sound of agony and unraveling. Its form destabilized, its reality-warping powers flickering wildly, then collapsing in on themselves. The breach it had emerged from began to shrink, sucking in debris, a violent reverse birth. As the tear in reality imploded, Aegis caught a fleeting, impossible image in the swirling vortex of light and shadow. A shadowy figure, impossibly serene, observing from the other side. The figure was cloaked, indistinct, yet Aegis felt a cold, calculating intelligence emanating from it, a sense of absolute conviction. It was a vision of insidious, distorted liberty, a promise of peace through destruction, and Aegis knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was the architect of the chaos. The nullifier. The immediate crisis was averted, the breach sealed with a final, echoing pop, leaving behind only the smell of ozone and burnt metal. The monstrous echo dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind a scarred city, its landmarks warped, its citizens shaken, staring at the impossible wounds in the sky. Aegis stood amidst the wreckage, a solitary figure of resilience, yet deeply troubled. The weight of his brutal decision, the lives he couldn't save, pressed down on him. His comm unit, usually silent, crackled to life, an encrypted signal from an old, distrusting intelligence contact. "Thorn," the voice rasped, cold and efficient. "The reports are coming in. Not just here. Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles. Smaller breaches, different entities, but the pattern is consistent." A pause, heavy with unspoken dread. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was the first tremor, a coordinated strike. "They're calling it the Nexus Cascade." Aegis looked up, his gaze drawn to the tattered remains of a flag, impaled on a twisted spire of what was once a proud skyscraper. Its stars and stripes, now fragmented by the Nexus Event, hung limply, a grim parody of its former glory. "And the source?" he asked, his voice low, gravelly. The contact's voice crackled again, now laced with a chilling certainty. "We're tracking a new philosophy taking root. They call it true silence. They believe reality, in its fractured state, is a cosmic error. They promise ultimate freedom through non-existence." A grim understanding dawned on Aegis. The fight for liberty had just begun, and it would require more than just one hero. It would require a collective, a unity he had always shied away from. The fractured flag fluttered, a silent testament to a shattered ideal, a promise of a future where freedom might come at the ultimate, terrifying cost.